Longplay 4K Review, Just Cause. Hello everyone. The gaming industry has grown to such an extent that most of the projects started to shove donations, paid content and everything else, just to use games as a business and make as much money as possible. Because of this, many players, especially those over 30, like to repeat a single phrase that, say, it used to be better. And the quality of games now is often not very good. Remember at least the recent relaunch of Saints Row, or before it Cyberpunk 2077, with a lot of other crooked games. But was it really that much better before, as many believe, or is it just our nostalgia prancing around, keeping us on our toes? After all, not all projects of those years had a decent quality, and which could be praised. And one of such projects we can single out the first part of Just Cause, which, if we compare it by today's standards, can be considered as a Zabagivani Technodumka, which, by some miracle, was able to spawn a whole series of Just Cause games. But what's wrong with this game? Let's find out. General information. Just Cause is an open-world third-person action game, the first part of which was released in 2006 for all, at that time, actual platforms. Also, this game can be qualified as a GTA clone, which, after the success of the series Grand Theft Auto, began to appear at that time a lot. And as mentioned above, this game has a huge open world, on which the player has to move around, explore the neighborhood and perform certain tasks. Plot. According to the plot, we play as a CIA agent named Rico Rodriguez, who, if you look at the cover of the game, is drawn from Che Guevara, but that's not the point. He arrives on fictional Mexican islands to eliminate the dictator who has seized power. Helping Rico will be his partners, in the person of Tom Sheldon and Maria Kane. They will provide Rico with the necessary information, and give the main tasks for the main character. And also, they will give Rico new weapons and equipment to complete the tasks. To be honest, the plot is quite simple and banal, as for a GTA clone that tries to stand out among others. And maybe at that time the plot in this game was good, but now, after all those tons of games, with cinematic staging and twisted plot, what can offer the plot in the first part of Just Cause, looks so bad. But it's fair to say that the story at least explains what we're doing in the game and what's the whole point of the mess. Gameplay. The gameplay itself is quite clear and simple. We run, shoot, steal different cars, helicopters and perform different tasks, which, unfortunately, boil down to the same thing: kill the next target. Weapons in the game, which we get, a lot of different types, but we start with standard pistols, which have infinite ammunition. Shooting, from the weapon itself, such a thing. It is not dynamic and you often miss the target, but in general you can shoot, although it is not very pleasant. Later, after a couple of introductory tasks, we are given the hook. Only in this, the first part of the series, we don't have the hook on our arm. We use a kind of cannon, which fires a hook on a rope, with which we can cling to transportation. And only for transportation, because we can't cling to anything else, which is pretty bad, especially when you need to swipe somewhere quickly to hide from enemies and regroup. And in general, if you've played subsequent games in the Just Cause series, like the second or third installment, it's pretty much the same in the first one, just less dynamic. However, this game has a lot of bugs of different degrees of severity. For example, you wanted to get a hook on the helicopter to steal it, and just started to pull up to it, and then bats, you died because of touching the helicopter. Because of which you have to start the game from the place of saving, or if it was some task, then from the checkpoint. Or, if you were even a little bit hit by a car, even at a very low speed, that's it, you're dead instantly. And should I talk about other bugs? When the textures overlap one on another or when the ground appears holes through which you can see the void. Another thing, as I wrote above, is that this game just has a huge open world. However, for the most part it's empty, and 90% of the environment is jungle, with mountains and rocks, and only somewhere out there, among all this there are small towns that look empty, Although there are vehicles and people walking around. Yes, there are secrets, passages and references, but will you want to look for them while exploring this empty open world? I don't think so. Also, since everything takes place on islands, there are rivers, lakes and seas around them, in which, of course, you can swim. Moreover, you can swim not only by boat, but also by hand, or even by diving underwater. But there is nothing special underwater either, so there is no need for that. The tasks, as I said, are monotonous. However, for their fulfillment you are given various kinds of plushies. For example, if you don't want to steal civilian vehicles, you can open the PDA and call the transport drop, where you will be offered to choose between a moped, an SUV, a gyrocopter or a speedboat. Moreover, 2 of the 3 types of transportation have cannons installed on them, capable of firing both machine guns and rocket launchers. And this type of transportation can be useful, because it can be taken on missions, so that it would be easier to destroy the next target. In addition to missions, there are also different items to collect. And believe me, there are a lot of these items here. You will need to fly around, raid and go around the entire map of the open world to collect all these items. And for collecting them, in the game, you will be promoted in the rank of local militias, which oppose the very dictator, which you need to kill. Yes, the militia also need to help by doing additional tasks, but it is not necessary and you can just follow the story. For the same promotion in a number of militias, when you need to, these militias will help you fight off enemies, if of course militia soldiers will be nearby. And this game would not be a GTA clone if there were no police in it. And the police here is tough, and if you even a little bit hurt someone, passing by the car, you will immediately start a chase. And if you shoot, and start killing law enforcement officers, then eventually you will start such a chase that the cops in their jeeps will not just tram you, or take you in a box, but they will crash into you so hard that you will literally fly off the road into the ocean with them. Plus more helicopter to connect, which will shoot at you even from rocket launchers, which will not allow you to survive, unless you, of course, do not steal the same helicopter that shoots at you, or do not shoot it down. Besides the cops, you can get militia or local cartel on you, if you start killing their representatives. And even if you didn't want to kill them, but just accidentally hit one of them, you will be attacked by everyone who is near you. Also, in this game, as in any other GTA clone, there are shelters that you can use to replenish ammunition, save the game and restore health. Yes, to restore health, you need to find another shelter, of which there are plenty, and use the first aid kit hanging on the wall of one of the buildings. You can't go into the buildings themselves, and they serve purely as a decoration for the open world in this game. However, despite all the plushies, feints and other things that we have and that we can do in this game, bugs spoil everything. For example, you may not die from enemies shooting at you from different guns, but 95% of the time you can die just standing there. Yes, there are bugs, because of which it can be unpleasant to pass or just play the game. After a couple of days of play, I just turned it off and deleted it, because, not only that it quickly gets boring, it's monotonous tasks and missions, and bugs do not give normal play. Yes, if you do not do what can provoke the game to bugs, then, maybe it will be and enjoy playing, but often you cannot just play the game, so that the next bug did not ruin you all the raspberry. After all, you will have to perform certain actions in the game to make it easier to pass the next task, so play without triggering bugs, in this game, will not work. Graphics. Graphically this game looks 50-50. On the one hand, if you do not look into the textures and just play, the visual component will not catch your eye, and you will not notice any visual flaws. However, if you want to look for in this game graph honey, then, as they say, you are wrong number. But, for what I would like to praise the visual component, it is for the detailing of the clouds. Such voluminous and plausible clouds, even GTA San Andreas, at the time, could not boast. But it concerns the open world in the game. But the characters look like plastic dolls in this game, which immediately catches the eye. Well, at least they're not angular, and that's already good. I also didn't like this saturation effect, because of which even the characters become so bright that my eyes start to hurt. And if with increased saturation the surrounding world in the game looks good, then everything else just blows out of the overall picture. Soundtrack. The sound of this game, as well as its visual component, is 50-50. On the one hand, when we are doing something, for example, driving somewhere, flying or swimming, different tracks specially written for this game are playing. But on the other hand, all these tracks are almost constantly repeating, the soundtrack gets boring, and you just want to turn the music slider to 0 so you don't have to hear that annoying soundtrack. And no, there are no in-game radio stations, as it happens in many other GTA clones, because of which you have to listen to this monotonous soundtrack, or turn the music volume to 0. Bottom line. In summary, Just Cause is a project of its time, which is not very interesting to play now, and in which it is easy to die just because. You can be killed in this game by simply touching a pole, and there is nothing you can do about it. Which makes me delete this game and never come back to it again. And I'll be honest. After so many years, tried to give this game a chance again, thinking that it was me so crooked, could not pass this game in those years, but it turned out that it's not me, but the game itself. Therefore, I don't see the point of returning to it at all, and let it be a game of its time, which can be looked at from the point of view of museum value, if it can be called such. That's all for now. Thank you all for your attention.